Gracious Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for this time that we can come and we can serve our county. Lord, we pray that you would help us to do the business of the county in a good and open manner that would be pleasing to you, Lord. We just pause at this time to remember what this day means, Lord, in our memory. Lord, as I drove down the streets today coming into work, Lord, I've seen all the flags out on the streets, Lord. Today is Patriot Day, and Lord, just a day that we remember the most terrible tragedy in our nation. But Lord, we pause to remember those that didn't run away from the fire, didn't run away from the flames, but ran to them. And Lord, we see that acting out again today, Lord, at our first responders who are going into Florida, who are going into the Gulf Coast, Lord, and helping out. Lord, we just pray that you would be with them, Lord, each and every day. Lord, we pray that you would be with us and guide and direct us in all of our thoughts and actions this morning. We pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Y'all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now the Texas pledge.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. Take your seats, please. I'd like to ask the court to address the consent agenda.
Judge, I would make the motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Thanks, sir. Second. Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Mahler to accept the consent agenda as presented. Any comments or questions by anyone on those items? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say the same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, item number 1 on general business is a public hearing on the proposed budget and tax rate. For those of you who heard this before, I'm sorry, it's not going to get any better, but it's not going to get any worse, I don't believe. As we entered into this budget season, we received information after the bond issue passed. Then we tried to look at what was the total implication of that amount of taxation on us, as counties are limited to 80 cents. We knew this tax rate increase would be somewhere in the 5 to 6 cent range. And we had to work on that figure. We looked at how we were ending the projections for last year based on the tax rate that we did, and we came pretty close to guessing that right. It looks like we're going to be on a slight plus side. The comprehensive annual financial report is not due until the 30th of September. The auditor feels like that deadline will be met and that there's been no significant changes from the earlier projections we had asked her for. So that's really good news. As we looked at this, we said, all right, this is going to put us, given the current tax rate and adding up to that 6 cents, is going to move us close to the 67 cents, back to that 80 cent cap. That leaves 13 cents to deal with normal cost of living, everything else, for the 30-year bond period. I would like to think that the legislature at some point would say, you know, we put that 80 cents on there a long time ago, and maybe there ought to be some revision to that. And I think there's going to be some effort by county associations to ask them to look at that, maybe to keep the 80 cents, but those capital improvements that you've got to do, equipment, buildings, and things, might reside outside that. To me, that might be something palatable to taxpayers. We also looked at our major expense is personnel. That's 70% of our budget. So we started doing some things to look at where we might make revisions in our staffing. either we're bringing in 2 new software systems. We think that's going to have some efficiencies gained. We also just purely had to look at how do we make some changes. The court came up with some suggestions on the number of personnel, the number in each office, and shocked everybody that was an elected official or department head on July 5th and put that information out. That's really the earliest we had been able to develop anything like that. What was impressive was how those people heading up those departments, whether they be elected or appointed, looked at ways to work with that and either bring in alternative income, use alternative funding, or find ways to reduce and keep personnel. And that ranges from looking at in one of the departments with the most number of people anticipated to lose. The tax assessor did a good job of sitting down with his people and saying, okay, who's really thinking about retiring? So instead of those people leaving December 31st, they're scheduled throughout the year to, in 2018, to retire and come off the payroll at that time. We did even look at some ideas of incentivizing maybe retirement some, but couldn't come up with a plan that we felt was equitable to all concerned, so that was withdrawn. We did go into our major personnel expense as a benefit is a health insurance program. And 2 particular categories were discussed in that. One is the amount of money that the county pays for 100% insurance on the individual employee. And then a second group were those that were grandfathered in on the 2001 change from the county paying for family health insurance after 4 years to then subsidizing it to possibly doing away with that. Commissioner Watts worked closely with our current provider and developed a plan for an alternative coverage that changes the deductible. It will take our anticipated employee pay being a little over $800 to being $751, almost $100 per month per employee savings. It raises the deductible from $600, $900 to $2,000, $6,000. And you go, ho, ho, ho. But we reviewed how many people are hitting their deductible. And it's only about 90 people, but they are hitting it significantly, $10,000 and above. Most everyone else goes to the doctor a couple times a year, does their thing, has their prescriptions. In the plan that the Commissioners Court has reviewed and thinks is the plan for right now, it changes copays. It raises them on the office visits $5 per visit more. It raises the top end of paying for our drugs, your pharmacy stuff. I wouldn't say $10 on the top one. That's on a 90-day prescription. The biggest change is if you go to the emergency room, it went from $90 to $150. We have also, because we're not experts on the insurance and on the trends, and quite honestly, I'm not sure anybody is right now with Congress doing something to health care. None of us know that plan, and honestly, I don't think they do either. If you read the weekend paper, there was a number of different plans discussed in the paper that Congress is considering. We put out RFPs and we'll select a consultant that is one of 3 different insurance providers to be kind of our expert on what would be the most appropriate plan and benefits to deal with our employees and their families. The good news, under the one we've tentatively selected, it reduces the premium for those of you that were paying 100% for dependent coverage. It does do that. Not a great deal, but some. the people that were in under the grandfather plan will continue to pay the same rate they've been paying. And the county will actually pay a little less. But that seemed to be the fairest thing. Now, what's going to happen after we get the advice out of the consulting groups? We will set up to meet with them once we make a selection on the company. Then we'll set up a committee to sit down and deal and talk with them about the benefits. We might use the personnel committee. I would suggest that on this, we will augment it with 1 or 2 members of the court being on there also, just to bring that plan together. But that's what we're looking at there. The capital expenditure items are roughly the same. We did include one major price tag in there that we did look at contingency funds for. Sheriff is the radio system. That's in there so that if we can find the money to do that, we'll do that. We still need to negotiate some more with the 2 proposals we have to see what's the best answer for that. But at least we've moved it forward a little bit on the possibility scale. And I would spell possibility with all capitals. And that means we know the need for that. And we are acknowledging that, and we're trying to do the way to get there. The rest of the major expense in there includes a new office area for the civil division of the attorney's office. We want to add 1 attorney there. Ms. Shelton and Ms. Kennedy have put the resources together to do great civil representation for us. Meredith can continue to train those personnel. It'll be cheaper than paying for outside counsel and more reactive to the needs of all the county office holders and the department heads. The other area we're looking at really some painting and cleanup and flooring in the tax office and some more major renovation to the district clerk's office. Those are the projects that are out there that we'll be looking at. So we finally get down to the tax rate that will fund this. First of all, I mentioned the jail. We went through, I can't tell you how many hours of research and work to come up and demonstrate what our financial capability to pay for those bonds. We went through that with 2 different agencies, with bond counsel, with financial counsel, with the assistance of Mr. Hampton and Ms. Stevens, put together a package that we thought really gave a fair estimate on the county's financial situation. We were very fortunate to come back with the highest rating our bond counsel everybody thought we could possibly obtain from both Standard & Poor's and from Moody's. And you think, well, that's great. What does that mean? Well, it saved us $7 million on the total financing of the bonds. So that's good. That speaks well of the whole county, not just the Commissioner's Court, nor the Auditor's Office, nor the Treasurer's Office, but how we've all managed to take care of our business, which is evaluated in dollars. Next, we get down to the tax rate. And what we've looked at on the tax rate, we advertised to possibly keep the tax rate at the level it is now. The effective rate, which is calculated based on increased property value for the county, automatically lowers your tax rate. That's nice when it's that way. That sword has 2 edges. If your property value goes down, the tax rate automatically goes up. The court entertained keeping it at the same rate because it brings in a little bit more money, better than $300,000. New value in the county brings in an additional $300,000. In the budget that I present by law called the county judge's proposed budget, I recommended the court consider the effective rate. And in doing some work over the weekend, the court doesn't adopt the effective rate we have to wait 3 days from this second public hearing, so that would not happen until Friday, that we then adopt the tax rate and the budget. If the court moves through this today, then we can go ahead and finish business today. That pretty well gives my overview. Commissioners, anything else y'all want to add?
Sums it up, Judge.
Okay. Is there any comment or questions or testimony from anyone in the audience?
What was the deductible again, Woody?
On the proposed health insurance, be 2,000 and 6,000. 2,000 individual, 6,000 family.
And 6,000 family, oh, I see.
Yes, sir.
Is that family or maximum out of pocket?
Well, it's maximum out of pocket for family, I believe is the way that'd be. That's why you got, right now we're 600, 900. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Judge Colson, did you all get my proposal for the travel?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
just make
Yes.
sure. I thought that was the case.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you for getting it. I think we got, some of those came in kind of last minute, and, but there was a pretty good effort to get everything into and done. Try to get something by Friday. Okay. All right, no other comments, no one in the audience? Okay, I will close this part of the public hearing then. Okay. Item 2 is discuss, consider, and take action on the following. Trying to break this down into smaller bites of adopting the budget so that we could follow some order instead of kind of going all over the board with this. And the first area to consider is action on personnel in the budget, and I'm going to follow these in the first part of it in budget numerical order. And what I think the way the court would do that, let's look at those items that will be considered under that. And if there's one you don't want to adopt, then let's pull it and discuss it and see if what we can do is get each of these areas set, and then we'll adopt them in total. Okay. The first one is...
Judge, could I
Yes,
ask
sir.
for a point of order before
Yes,
we
sir.
start?
Mhm.
Is it my understanding that we can approve the budget today if we are not, if we are going to have to rate 72 hours on the tax rate? Can that be split off and done Friday?
I'd rather, if we don't do this today, if we don't adopt a tax rate, then I would think we are premature in adopting the budget.
Do them all at once?
Let's do them at once. We'd move both till Friday. That's a good question, sir. Okay, first one is on page 23 would be to put the position number 15, IT help desk position that was requested, put it in budget 409. And this 46,500 was a common value we assigned to all of these positions, that if we didn't have a known salary on those we were getting credit for, it just became the common denominator to make it easier to work with.
Which includes benefits.
So, and those include total benefit costs. Okay, that would be in 409 to see if IT actually withdrew that, and Commissioner Watts, working with the IT committee, felt like they'd like to put that to the side to see if in the implementation with two major software programs being instituted in 1 year, there might need to be some additional help that would work with daily customer issues, that's what that person would be for. Next thing was on page 24, the civil attorney in additional position funded at $60,899. That would be an up to amount that Ms. Shelton discussed with the court. Next would be in...
Does this include benefits?
No, it doesn't. No, that's pure salary on that one. Page 25, in the district clerk's office in budget 430, the position number 8 terminates 30 days after Odyssey go live. Ms. Flores came down and discussed that with the court. 30 days was somewhat of an arbitrary number we picked. Depending on how smooth the go live works, that could be extended some. And so that we'll have to deal with from contingency funds on another position that's set up that same way. Page 26, in the court reporters, the court asked that we consider, the policy has been when the district judges raise the district court reporters' salaries, then the county court at law court reporters are raised the same amount, but $1,000 a year left. That parallels the difference between district judges and county court at law judges. I do not recommend that one and would be opposed to it. 27.
Clarify that,
Yes.
Judge.
Okay.
You're opposed to the increase or?
No, I'm opposed to the reduction. Okay. But that was in our work session, that was a recommendation that came out after that proposed budget. So I felt like that was your all's desire to have that in there.
Kind of struggling with that one myself, so.
Well, we need one more struggler and then it goes away. All right. In the public defender's office, we corrected a salary in there to make it not change from what it was in 2017, so that adjustment. And then in the preparation of the budget, we flopped salaries 6 and 12. We put those back in line. 531, we added back in the jail facility trustee officer that has been there. It just inadvertently got dropped last year, and it was funded out of a different jail position for this year. Added back one part-time transport officer after talking with the sheriff and the chief. Brought that position back in for $15,600 in salary for $15 an hour for 20 hours a week up to 52 weeks. Sure.
That position doesn't qualify for benefits?
No, sir, it doesn't.
Okay.
It will pay retirement, but not health insurance. Okay. It'll correct position 01 salary in 665. Instead of $14,000, it's reduced to $14,134. Page 33, correct the position 01 salary in 225 from $15,000 to $14,134. Those combined are the salary that we paid for the person in the extension office prior the past year or 2 years in that position. The deputy clerk positions 01 and 02 in 239, we corrected those titles at Ms. Flores' request. Okay, that would be one item. I'd request that we drop the one relating to reducing the court reporters' salaries and adopt those as proposed.
And Judge, that's all under item item A, and they're all for clarification purposes on the budget, right?
Yes, sir.
Item D deals with the actual adoption.
M&O amounts, yes.
Okay, I would move that we continue as listed, make the changes as noted on items 1, 2, and 3 with no changes proposed.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Okay, any discussion, any comment, anyone in the audience on this item? Okay.
I just want to add on the court reporter's note here that, you know, I'm not opposed to them nor any of our county employees receiving what's due them, but I want to make the comment or the note that every county employee that takes county insurance is now going to feel an effect of an additional $1,400 a year if you're going to have access to your insurance. And that's done at the cost of rising costs that we cannot control. So we are at a dilemma as to how to best combat increased costs that are running rampant. And this is one of those reasons, and it affects every single one of us. And you know, for people to receive raises is at our detriment as county employees, because guess what? Next year it goes to $1,700 or $2,000 plus what the county was covering. So those are at our expense, and until we can, one, obtain more revenue, which is not in the immediate future, or reduce costs significantly, we're faced with this dilemma. So I just want to comment on that I'm not opposed to seeing anyone be paid fair for the work that they do, but at the same time, I want to protect us all in having our costs stay at least at bay until we can get our arms around alternative measures that would help subsidize us, or at least find abilities for us to cut back and maybe pay for additional things with through other avenues. So that's my comment on that.
I didn't follow. You said, when you said the $1,400 the health care cost increase, that's the deductible increase.
Deductible today is $600.
Yes, and so it could go to $2,000, but then you said it could be $1,700 the next year.
No, I'm saying, yeah, I'm saying that this year we experienced an
8.1
increase. So if we elect to bear those costs of whatever it is and say, you know, the county can afford to pay this for insurance, then when insurance increases, guess who's going to pay the difference? It would be the employee paying the difference, because we've already determined that the county is not a open bucket full of money. I mean, we understand that money's coming out of it every single time that we feel those increases. So we as employees will begin to bear the burden, whether that's $30 a month on insurance or $50 a month or $60, $100, whatever it be. That's the reality that's coming down the pike, because we are expending more on insurance with the company than what we pay them. Today, our expenses are 104% of what we pay in premiums. As long as it's going to be that way, we're going to experience significant increases. And so it's a dilemma, and it concerns me that it continues to erode what we know as employee benefits for this county. And it's saddening to me that we have to take those great cuts. But that's just where we're at today. And
well, I just couldn't draw the correlation
Yeah.
that you had there. Those two are really separate. You're talking about increased premiums over here.
I'm cost about increased premiums next
Yeah.
year. You can bet that we'll at least have a 5%. That's been historic. But, you know, if we was to see ourselves at 110% expended on premiums paid, guess what? We'll see an increase larger than 8%. So it's worrisome that we're vulnerable to those things, and this is crazy time for health insurance, and who knows what's coming down the pike to us. And it concerns me that it's great expense that we don't see the end of the tunnel yet on. So I just want, that's my comment when I talk about those that are due, because there's not just court reporters, but there's others that are due and underpaid or not paid what we'd like to pay them, but all of those have external or alternative recourse to us that at this point in time, I think we've identified we need to hold on to our hat because it's trying to blow off. And that's where we end up. We didn't find ourselves suggesting that some of them should be paid more than others. That wasn't of our making. So how they got separated is to someone else doing, but for me to make a decision to expend more money at a time that we're cutting back and real people will lose a job, it just doesn't seem appropriate to me at this time.
That's kind of where I'm at. I can't terminate 15 people and give 2 other people a raise. It just doesn't, it's just not right.
We're adding employees and keeping a non-county person position in one other office.
I believe if we add those employees like those attorneys, it should be a cost savings to the county. I think that's why we made that decision.
The attorney, but we're adding one administrative person, and we're paying for the position of the 4-H agent over an extension. And we don't have one of those now, and probably could do without one of those. I'm just saying, that scale is pretty wide, and trying to balance it is not easy. And I understand what you all are saying on that. I just made a commitment a long time ago, and I don't see a reason to change it. I thought those ought to stay in that particular ratio. Any other comment? Okay. The motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Harvey, is to adopt the changes as presented on pages 23, 24, 5, 6, 7, 31, and 33 in the positions allowed for. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Aye. 3-2. You did, Mr. Beach, you voted against it?
Correct.
I thought I heard you. Okay. All right, good deal. Okay. Item B is the maintenance and operation, and the major thing there was, Chief Better, thank you for getting those corrections on the sheriff on the 560 budget. And did you all come up with an anticipated number for the operation of the firing range? And I realize that's probably a guesstimate.
That was, we submitted that with our.
Did I overlook that?
With our budget request. And it was entirely a guess, and it was, our request was $4,400, and that was just electricity and water.
Okay.
That was a change. Well, that was the changed request. Because of the actual worksheet.
That's an annual cost, Chief?
Yes, sir. And that it may be a little more than that, and it may be a little less. We talked to a few people and looked at what we spent previously, and those were the only 2 changes. It still had some supplies worth $300 for batteries and some maintenance equipment, $100 for training munitions, but the big change was the water and the electricity.
For a total budget of?
Let me see here, 47. It looks like $5,400.
And that's probably on the high side, is it not, Chief? I mean,
I think so. I think our electricity, we put $3,500 for electricity. That may not end up being there. But
right.
we would rather give you some money back at the end of next year than
use that classroom much, you've got heating and air conditioning and lighting in there. You've got the lights on the range itself.
And then we'll have some, probably across time, the outer berm to water maybe, or things like that, so. But still, that's a manageable cost of usage in a year's time, I would think.
Yeah.
One of the good things is the lighting, the outdoor lighting and everything's all LED. It's what Mr. Beechman helped locate. It's some of the best stuff you can get, save electricity. Which is paramount.
Okay. So the action for the court right now is to consider the M&O changes that are listed for 560, 561, and 562, and then the $4,400 in there for the firing range operation.
It was 5,400 total.
Was it 5,400?
It's 5,400.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
Judge, I'll make the motion to accept those changes.
Second.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on those items? We have a motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Beecham to approve the request, the item presented there. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. All right. The last is cleanup in narratives. On page 1, it would be just Parallel 1, page I. The criminal district attorney withdrew her request for some position increases, and then we added one. We changed the position in there. This is all part of that same narrative to $15 per hour. After that, we add the one position restored to the jail staff as a jail facility trustee officer, and then one potential position for IT desk budgeted. We already did those earlier in the personnel, but that's just a change in that narrative. Will be shown what's in the actual public budget. And then on page, para 3, page I, in the sentence that follows, as they did in 2017, add the words for the new optional plan unless there is an increase in the newer plan cost. If the current plan is kept, there will be an 8.1%. That has to do with the health insurance. I talked about those changes. Then on page II, put in there JP 11 and 1-2 budgets 455 and 450. Correct the word auto pay to autopsy. Autocorrect decided to use its own word.
One might be more descriptive than the other.
Okay. Page 3 added the help desk employee that we talked about, and then the calculation down there for the overall savings in personnel costs changed to $1,035,897. On page Roman numeral 7, we added the recently submitted departments that gotten their stuff in on the travel plan. Those who didn't get something in, your 2017 travel amount will be put in 409. You'll have to come in and request it when you
Before you spend it.
before you spend it. Page 1, Mr. Waller was correcting that note in that. There was a couple errors in that. And page 2, you're making some same clerical changes in that. Those all are, they're corrections, but they're really not material in anything they provide. They provide narrative in the explanation of the process. I would ask the court to go ahead and adopt those if there's any other changes they have to offer.
I'd just like to ask about the lean-to. I don't see it anywhere.
Like them to what?
The lean-to,
Oh, yeah, his new,
the cover for the new equipment.
that's,
Some revisions in that,
it's in the revised,
we'll make the revisions,
yeah.
we'll get them in, equipment listing.
We're voting on that today.
We need to go back and add that under the M&O changes.
Right here,
Is that,
property improvements. On page 37.
What's the 222, 5,000, add $80,000.
5,001.
what was it for, Lee?
It's for parking.
For the lean-to, the cover,
Oh, carport.
the carport.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you make that a motion, Commissioner Harden.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Okay. Any other question or discussion on that? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. Could we have a motion then on the budget preface and policies?
Okay, clarification again, Judge.
Yes, sir.
Item D is the acceptance of the entire budget? Or just those portions? Where,
Item
you're,
4.
and my question relates to what you just told Barry about the acceptance of the budget if we're going to consider one of the rates.
D would be the acceptance of the budget and policies. We'd have to now go back and make an all-encompassing motion then to put those three together. You've got all the parts of the pie. This is just our puzzle. You're just sticking them together. We
Okay.
need one motion.
Well, there's no cleanups here that need to be done in lieu of anything. I mean, without the acceptance of the budget, do we not need to clean up anything in the preface or in the policy section?
That's what those items listed would do. They're just that. But then we do what you've got on this backside,
On,
this sheet that you were
okay.
given. On the backside of it has the budget.
Judge, did we address 2C?
Hang on a second. Let me take care of one thing at a time.
Nancy, do you know what he's talking about on the backside?
It's that numerical sheet that we got, this one, yeah.
I handed it to you in your office this morning. Oh,
Okay, but which item on here is acceptance of then the completed corrected
it's
budget?
under that same item 2. Then you're discussing concern. We broke down each, so it wouldn't be all, and now we need the motion that puts all those together. That would, and in that you would say, I make a motion to accept the budget with changes as approved by the court, and then allow that any other grammatical or numerical corrections without changing the bottom line can be made. Because still when we go through this, you every once in a while find something that's not going to change the bottom line, but it didn't get entered correctly, and so we do that.
So, and then which motion is the motion to accept the budget?
That would be what you would do. That's why we do each of those separate, and then we have
Adopt the whole
historically adopted the whole thing.
Okay, well, so my motion would be that we make the the changes grammatical to the budget prefix, the policy section as needed, but delay approving the budget until we set the tax rate accordingly.
Okay, I don't think you need a motion to do that. If we're not going to do that. But the budget, okay, let me ask you a question. The budget, we can adopt. You adopt the budget first, then you adopt the tax rate. Now, if y'all want to wait and discuss the tax rate, and if we're not going to have a decision, you want to wait and do both on Friday, then we don't need to do the encompassing motion that puts all those together.
Just the line by line that we've already done.
We've done that, so that if you don't act on the total budget here, and you decide to wait until Friday on the tax rate, then we would have an item that would say, make the motion to approve the county judge's budget as submitted with the changes reviewed on 9/11, and allow for any mathematical or grammatical corrections.
Okay, I'll make
Okay.
that motion.
Okay, you want to go ahead and do that for right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Second.
Did you write that down, Judge?
Good luck pulling that back.
Yeah, read that back to me.
Motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Beecham, to approve the county judge's submitted budget with the changes approved on September 11th, to include any necessary mathematical or grammatical corrections.
Pretty good. I think you got it.
19 years of work, every once in a while it comes together. Actually, Nancy, what we'll do is cite those items 2A, B, C, and D. And to change budget to 22. Okay. Any other comments or thoughts? Anyone in the audience? Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Okay. We are down to item number 4, is discuss, consider, take action to set the maintenance and operations rate at the proposed effective rate of 0.576640. Or the M&O rate, but we can't do that today. So it's either a choice of accepting the effective rate today or post, and for Friday, we'd meet the requirement of having 3 days time between the second public hearing and the vote on that if we're going to go to anything other than the effective rate.
And Judge, that's as is also the case for item 3,
We'll say you skipped item
Oh,
3.
did I? Okay, I'm sorry.
but that's the
Yeah.
same, correct?
Yeah, we could do, excuse me, we could do, I wrote over that with that motion. No, I'm sorry, let's go back to item 3, is discuss, consider, take action to set the debt service rate at 8.066. We've that's pretty well set by formula. We need to go ahead and do that today.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Muller to approve the debt rate set at 0.080663 for the 2018 budget. Any other comments or questions?
Comment?
Yes, sir.
I would like the public to know what entails in that rate. I know that we told them that the jail would go up 5 to 6 cents, but we already had some things on the books, and I'd just like for you to explain to our audience how we arrived at the 8 cents.
From the previous year's rate, we added 5.69 cents to it.
Well, we know that. What's in the previous year's rate? It was the software
Okay.
and
You voted on it?
vehicles, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I voted on it. I'm just
Vehicles,
making sure
the
they understand.
Microwave system,
Yeah,
Voting
microwave,
machines.
vehicles,
There's a voting
software.
equipment note in there.
yeah.
Yes. So.
And there's some other carryovers from the other years.
Right.
That rate for.
That INS
police
rate
purchase.
is some premium, or some
It's all previous to this.
previous to this year, and
Yeah.
there was about a 3 point,
Well, it's less, 2 cents some odd, because we increased it 5.69, so back off
Right,
5.69 off of 8.
right.
It's about 2.4, 2.5.
Okay. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, now back to item 4, sorry. Discuss, consider, take action to set the maintenance and operation rate at the proposed effective rate of 0.576640.
Or,
Well,
We can't do the order.
can't
Oh.
do the or.
oh, I just thought you'd read the whole thing.
I'll make the motion, we set it there. Is there a second?
Now, once again, why can't we consider the other one?
You have to have
3 days.
3 days.
72
3 days,
hours.
72
Okay.
hours.
That's right, it's the time deal.
After
Yeah.
the meeting. the
Right,
public meeting.
after.
After the public meeting. And I only used 14 minutes for it, so. Yes,
Well, I'll second that, Judge.
thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. Motion by Gossam, second by Muller to approve the setting the tax rate at the effective rate. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-2. Be sure we're not.
Aye.
Okay. Want to be sure we're there. Okay. Now what we've got to do is
657.
combine the two and come back and discuss and consider take action to set the tax rate with motion as follows. The motion would be I move the property tax rate be increased by adoption of the tax rate of 0.6570 657,303, which includes the INS rate that we adopted, which is effectively 9.3% increase in the tax rate. We need to do that to put together the two we approved. Do you want to
Now,
make that?
what's the 9.3 percent increase?
That's the total increase with the adding the interest and sinking fund money.
Oh, the
That's
total?
what- Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Someone going to make that motion?
So moved, Judge.
Thanks, sir.
Second.
Any other discussion on that? Motion by Commissioner Harvey, second by Commissioner Muller. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. All right, the fun thing, review and approve the emergency and regular bills.
Judge?
Yes, sir.
Could we not go back, since we have approved the effective rate, to go ahead and accept the budget as presented then?
Actually, the way I wrote that motion, we did.
Yeah, depending on how this vote went, that would be ratified. You're correct.
It said, motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner to approve the county judge's proposed budget as changed by items 2A, B, C, D, and a change to budget 222 with grammatical and numerical changes, which will not change to the total budget numbers. In other words, can't change the bottom line. And we approved that on a 5-0 vote. You feel like, I feel like that got that done.
Okay.
Okay. We reviewed the bills on Friday. Y'all, we should take action on those.
Yes, we did. Still, every time we review that, I learn more, but still got to pay it. I'll make a motion that we pay our emergency and regular bills.
Second.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Harvey, second by Commissioner Beecham to accept and pay the emergency and regular bills for payment. Any other comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 7, receive briefing and approve the schematic drawings of the Law Enforcement Center presented by Harper Perkins Architects. See, the nice thing is we approve the money to pay you next year.
Good morning. It's on a lighter note. The committee that has been working with HOK and HPA towards the schematic design of the LFC and jail are presenting the following drawings. It is brief in the fact that because of security reasons, we can no longer go into great detail on the plans. So the site is the Sprague site, the Highway 287 site. Basically, in what the layout will be is that the secure parking will be in the back for sheriff's employees. It will be built adjacent to the existing rifle range at this point. The parking isn't going to be for public access, will be on the north side of the property off of the access road on 287. The jail and housing unit area will be the closest to the existing building. The existing parking lots will be removed for the construction of the new facility. All of the support, which includes laundry, kitchen, book-in, property storage, a variety of things that needs to be used for the housing of the inmates will be the next in row. The sally port and where they come to be brought in will be in a secured area so that once they arrive on the property in a law enforcement agent's vehicle, then they will be in a secured area. The non-secured area, again, will be up front with the access off the freeway, and the sheriff's offices will be at that point so that all of the visitors to the facility, whether they come for the sheriff's office or they come for visitation to the inmates, will come in through one major lobby, and then they'll be directed to either direction. A new parking lot will have to be created for the Vernon College and the Sprague building because the existing parking lots will be no longer used.
Well, they won't even be there.
They won't be there. That's right. They'll be under building. there. Any questions?
So have you figured out how to get Dusty to pay for that parking lot north of the school yet?
Well,
You know that's coming for
well,
Dusty.
he caught on to that about halfway through the conversation. We were at Harper Perkins.
Are y'all saying?
But it is going to give a
Yeah.
more completed look to that, the old facility when it has parking in the front and just kind of balance it up, I
And
believe.
actually, I think, because there is an entrance that is on the
Yeah.
north that they utilize a little bit, but not really as a main entrance. But they can use that entrance, and the parking will be much more convenient to that north entrance than, parking way down here and having to walk.
Well, and you were also, we were going to put in, keep some of the perpendicular
Yeah,
parking
there will
along
be
there.
some parking right up against the building. One thing that, to major note too, and that affects the parking like we were just talking about, there's actually a 15-foot drop across the site that most people don't think about. But from the southeast corner to the northwest corner, there's a 15-foot drop across that property. And so when you're parking down here, you're hiking uphill.
That'd be good for the sheriff's new fitness program.
This is down, this is up. This is down, this is up. So this would be further down if you're walking up to this area.
Existing buildings on the high part of
Yes.
that property.
Yes.
It really doesn't look like it.
It doesn't look like it. It does not. When you're out there, but there's an existing pond tank that's sort of right down here in this area right now. We'll have to do a new retention pond further down. Any questions?
One of the things that Dr. Johnson asked to do was to meet and talk about the costs of that parking lot, and we'll need to have a session, and I copied you all an email saying to give me a cost estimate for that. And I'm thinking at one time you talked about a figure of $440,000 or something like that. I didn't know whether that was all of the parking lots or just that parking lot.
Just that parking lot.
I think those gold stripe painting has to change. But I thought that's what that was.
And we had actually at one point had over 200 spots here, and all the way to the end of the existing building. And we've got 130 shown here now, plus the 20 that's here, so that's giving them a total of 150 spots.
And you'll have handicap on both of those areas? Okay. All right. And is that still 440,000? Y'all need to work on that.
I need to rework those numbers.
Okay.
I don't have that off the top of my head.
Okay.
Surely it'll be less, Judge, surely.
You would hope.
Now,
You would certainly hope.
Judge Dusty had mentioned in his email to us that they would be interested in a portion of the building to own outright.
Yeah, but we don't, I think that's beyond the scope, but that's why I'm saying we need to have a work session, sit down with him, discuss all of their ideas. I guess what he's realized that with the roof deal and now with the parking, they're starting to pay close to if we add that in, that's close to fair market value for that. So, but, okay.
Well, this is, I want to comment, there's been a great deal of work expended on coming up with some layout here, so I appreciate Glenda and Ralph, Matt, all of the work and time and the listening to everyone. I know Sheriff and his department spent a great deal of time talking through the flow and how all of it comes together, so.
We visited numerous facilities and gained good information from them, what they would do over again if they had a chance and what they would not do over. And so I think that all of those conversations have gone together to do a real efficient plan at this point.
I do too, and we've had the luxury of HOK involved with a lot of site planning of jail facilities, so that incorporated in the mix really made for a well put together committee.
Very efficient plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Functionality
footprint-
standpoint, it certainly is compared to the other facilities that I've.
Footprint fits the site very well. I mean, it looks like,
And we're
You know,
doing
it's-
things inside to try to alleviate some of that 15-foot drop across. There'll be some internal ramps so that the building will change elevation as it goes along, so that it's not sticking 15 foot out of the ground when you get down here to this end.
Mr. Perkins?
With y'all's approval of the schematic design, we have a appointment set up with the jail commission on the 21st. Our members of the court, y'all sign it, plus HOKS and the sheriff's department will be going out and meeting with the jail commission to be sure that they agree with the schematic design. We've already sent it to them for them to review so that it's not new to them when we get down there.
Okay. And I will not be able to attend that, but I think Commissioner Beecham and Mr. Watts are going on that.
Correct.
You know that's going to be morning or afternoon, Jeff?
Morning at 9:30.
9:30.
Okay. So y'all need to,
Which means you'll need to leave by.
I bet we can find some, the Williamson County Jail, they just added on to it and they've got guest quarters.
Try before you buy plan thing.
Well, there's, you know, just think of how much real institutional knowledge you can gain.
Darn if I don't get to miss that trip.
Well, it won't be new for Matt, but. Okay. Are we going to have LEC meeting Thursday of this week?
No.
No. Okay. All right. And then, do you all anticipate going back to regular planning sessions?
Yes, then we'll do some additional work needs to be done for the LEC committee here. But I don't know that we'll have a scheduled every Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, although some of the decisions about, walls and roofs and things like that have been discussed and made, what the next step on design development, we're talking about mechanical systems, lock systems, the whole, begin to flush out all the working parts and how they're going to fit together. So they're going to be very important meetings.
And the CMAR will be working with us at that point.
Okay. Which, speaking of that, we need to decide the process. Think about this. We're going to discuss it today, but how do we want to sit down with the CMAR and finalize our agreement with them and negotiate? Meredith, if contract negotiation could be in closed session with the whole court, is
Yeah, it's under that strange statute that requires you to receive an opinion, the negotiation of the contract would be, in open court would be a disadvantage to your negotiation position. So we'd have to look at it.
okay. I'd appreciate it if you would do that. If not, then we do it. The idea is to have the maximum amount of the court involved in it. If not, then we would have to go down to someone to negotiate with them.
When will we see, Glenda, a revised budget? The CMAR made a big difference on what we could spend in the jail. The parking lot at Vernon makes a difference. What?
Right, when we get into the design development stage, which is we're finishing up, and y'all will hopefully approve the schematic design portion, we move into the design development, and then the CMAR takes over on cost estimating, and he will have a lot to do with all of that. That's why specific building systems, specific building materials, that is under the CMAR's guidance, and he'll do estimates both directions to give us choices, whether we want to go one direction or another, what the pros and cons of each of the choices are, and costs relative to those choices, long-term value as opposed to short-term value.
But you'll be doing that for us.
Yes.
And then we'll pick, and then they're gonna estimate what our pick was.
Well,
And
both, they'll be doing it up front too. We'll ask them to provide on these two different systems, A and B, provide costs for those so that we can provide that to you so that you can make choices based on their pros and cons and their cost. So you won't be just choosing, and then going backwards, back and forth. But there's a lot, it's a process. It's a lengthy process. And the committee will be working with it, and then we'll be bringing it to the court.
Yeah, two things that happened that were going to impact costs. It's called Harvey and Irma. Because they will impact not only material costs, but labor costs. As, the rush go down and try to rebuild a major portion of two states, it's going to affect the overall budget. We don't know how much. We're kind of remote, but still, there's a drain on.
We saw that in 2005 when Rita and Katrina came through too. We saw some definite impacts on construction.
The current job that we've got right now, we ask the contractor to have all of their drywall material on the site. Get it now, get it on the site, because what's going to happen if you've got 135,000 homes in Harvey and whatever you got down in there, talk about the amount of drywall that's going to be eaten up with that. If you don't have some already bought and in store, you may get maybe, we had it coming out during the time Linda's talking about, we had this stuff coming out when it was hot. It still ain't had cured. It's, so fresh out of the plant that it was still hot.
In traveling to a meeting last week, I saw numerous loads of drywall going south on 35 already. They're moving it, probably gathering up everything they can find in the Metroplex and in this part of the world and hauling it south.
You've got a couple of plants up here,
Yeah.
Acme and one across.
Trucks are rolling.
Oklahoma.
They're rolling. I've seen several of them on 287 the last 2 days. Noticeable increase in the amount.
on our schedule, when are we planning to break ground?
Right around the first of the year.
January? February?
That's what's been in our plan all along.
So your civil work's gonna take 3 months, probably. You're looking at mid-year next year before you need drywall.
Hopefully
I think we're gonna be behind the curve.
Hope so.
Well, usually there's a bubble and then it tapers off a little,
Yeah.
but it doesn't really come all the way back, or at least that's been my experience. You'll get over the initial panic maybe by the time we get to.
Well, my thought is if we purchase all our drywall material, we're gonna have to store it somewhere.
That's
And the only way you can store that would probably be in containers, and it's a lot of cost.
Well, what we're talking about, what I was referring to was projects we already have in construction right now. We've asked them to go ahead and get.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll say, Sheriff, one of the things we might look at is Sprague, the undeveloped portion of that, is whether there's storage there for building materials.
Yeah, Commissioner Beachman and Watt's been discussing about a big clean out here coming up next month.
They're gonna
come to court.
I would assume there's not a lot of drywall in the jail portion of that.
No, but
Yeah.
the green portion up there.
Yeah, that's where the drywall will be, yeah.
Well, you get those petitions, you hook them together. We joke about that, but before this is over, if prices are doing that,
We should be past the onset of the hurricanes by the time we get ready for drywall.
In 2005, what we saw, which was maybe unique to that particular, is the construction industry had not had a correction in cost of materials or labor for quite some time, and they used that as a double-edged sword. They did a correction of cost that was needed. We used to have to put very little to no extra, contingency in there. And then they came down a little bit, but not near as much as to where it was to begin with. So it did one of those ups, and then it came down a little bit. And it's been slowly increasing over that amount of time in the last 12 years. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not a.
Concrete cost would seem to be more of a worry to me. Probably building new dikes and levees and things like that, so.
Yeah, it's all building materials. It's gonna show up again across the board on all materials. But whether they'll take another spike and then come back or not, I don't know.
I think you call that a dead cat bounce, don't you? No, that's in the markets, that's
Oh,
not.
okay, sorry. Well, my crystal ball broke about, 30 years ago, so I don't know.
Okay, we ready to take action to approve the schematic drawings?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Beecham, and second by Commissioner Watts to approve the schematic drawings as presented by our architectural firm. Any other comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say sign. Okay, carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Jail maintenance projects work orders were received. Lieutenant Spiegel's report, nothing unusual.
Notice the tile project's coming up in October,
Yeah.
which is good.
Any other action to be taken on it? Okay.
Not that I'm aware of. I see you keep looking over there, but.
Yeah, I was looking for you. You're out of place.
Yeah.
My mind says you're always
It
over
was a
there.
full house when I was able to get up there.
Okay.
So, if you guys have any questions
Yeah.
on that?
I thought Rowdy was learning to speak like you for a second. All right, Lieutenant, thanks again.
Thank you.
Commissioner Harvey, anything on the firing range?
We just probably need to take that off now.
Okay.
Going forward.
I got something.
Yes, sir.
We need to get on to the, getting at the concrete, the sidewalks and everything we put in. We need to determine who's supposed to backfill all that, because it's all still a train wreck. I don't know if inmate labor's supposed to do it, or if the concrete people are supposed to do it, but it's all still pulled back away from the concrete, we need it filled in. And also need to look at the gravel, we're gonna do that front part. And of course, the final thing, I think, is temporary fencing. We want to determine if we shoot without any fencing up right now, we're gonna have to put 3 sentries around the entire property to make sure no one wanders up there while we're shooting.
Where nobody wanders up and shoots when y'all aren't there.
Yeah, well, that's gonna be a huge issue. Not that that's
Yeah,
things right there.
it's gotta be fenced in.
I think you've already been violated.
No.
There's always one. Okay.
We've still had several discussions on the type of fencing that's needed around there in the law enforcement center development, so we're kind of still on hold with that.
Well,
On what
several meetings
height?
ago, we asked Glenda to give us a recommendation on the fencing
Mhm.
that would then be the likely thing, so it would stay the same thing all the way
Right.
around.
But I've yet to hear what that is, so.
Yeah.
We need to ask her, I'm not measuring.
Okay. Well, then we need to ask her, and we need to get a plan back in to get that done. I don't see paying for fencing, temporary fencing, and then that. So,
Right.
But this needs to happen sooner instead of later, though.
Yeah. I'd like to see it getting done quicker because of the weather the way it is now.
Yeah.
You know, we know our weather in November, long we start raining right off the bat. It'd be too muddy to get anybody in.
Yeah. Okay. All right, we'll move on to item 10. Thanks, Sheriff. As discussed, consider and take action to approve one regular full-time deputy clerk in the county clerk's office to waive posting procedures to authorize county clerk to fulfill the position with a candidate of her choice at the salary of $27,319 and to hire the candidate on the first workday following successful completion of all pre-employment testing. Ms. Bohannon?
Yes, I already have someone in mind. She also has experience in my office.
Lori, bring me up to speed exactly. I'm not 100% clear why we're doing this.
Because I've lost 3 people in my office.
Commissioner Watts, this is not approving another regular full-time person.
No, this is-
This is allowing her to fill a position that she lost.
Without posting it.
Without
She
posting.
has a prior employee to bring back in was a good employee.
Right, I've lost the two that I had to lose by the end of the year.
Okay.
They're gonna be gone.
But
This
not,
is a
you
third
didn't
one.
need to lose the third one?
No, I
Okay.
can't
Okay,
afford to lose it.
okay. I thought that it had, in my mind, I thought it had something to do with collections and you were going to backfill collection position or something like that. So-
Yeah, this person I'm looking at does have collection experience.
It's a twofer.
Oh, okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Waller, second by Commissioner Watts to approve the request as stated. Any other comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Bless you.
Yes. Okay, motion carries 5-0. Item 11, discuss, consider, take action to approve Hart InterCivic quote number 3207 in the amount of $28,875 for the poll pad software and printers for 35 tablets with payment from 100.409.4902 general fund contingencies by transfer of the proper budget line as assigned by the county auditor. Ms. Bohannon.
This is, we found out in July of this year that Hart will not support our e-poll books, which is our electronic voter registration when you vote. And so we will have to purchase new ones, especially if, I still haven't heard from the state, if we go to vote centers, we have to have the electronic poll books.
And is this a little bit of a benefit for us or an increase in poll books? I know a shortage of poll books in the past have
No,
been.
this keeps us, we had 35 of the ones we have now, and this is just replacing those 35.
Would there be any benefit to ask either party or both parties if agreeable to add into that mix, or can they?
They could, but I don't think they agreed to adding anything.
They haven't in the past.
They asked us to add 11 poll books, but
Correct.
they wanted us to pay for them.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, we don't need that many.
Did we budget this, Lori?
No, this was a shock.
I know we talked about it, but we didn't, it wasn't,
Is this a 2017 expense or is
Yes.
it? Okay.
Yes.
yeah.
We talked about that, and you may have been gone that meeting, but we went ahead and decided we need to get this done, get them into play for this coming November election.
If we can get them here by November, if not, then definitely by the primary.
That was my question, what's the delivery, expected delivery date, do you
I
know?
don't know, I would have to talk to Mark to see.
And what was the age on the existing equipment that we're replacing?
6 years,
6.
Wow.
something. I think you can count on this stuff every
Yeah.
5 to 8 years. They're just gonna sock it to you.
They got you.
Probably, in a few years, they'll do the same thing with the voting equipment.
Well, we've got to move forward if we're going to do our vote center deal. We know we've got to have the numbers. I'd make a motion that we approve that, Judge.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Waller, second by Commissioner Watts to approve the position as requested. Any other comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0. Item 12, discuss and take action to approve the quote for No Ink in the amount of $10,850 for 35 Apple iPads, 32 gigabyte tablets for poll pad software with payment from general fund contingency by transfer to the budget line assigned by the county auditor. Ms. Bohannon.
This is the actual poll book. I did send it to Ashley, and she cannot get these any cheaper. Actually, this is cheaper than what she could get.
And this is something that
Imagine that.
we have the ability to manage or take care of this style, this Apple iPad.
These could be repurposed if they no longer service the software or whatever.
Right. And
These are off-the-shelf units.
What happens to our
Can you run
existing?
Windows
Well, and
on
that's
these?
something we can look at and
They're
see
Mac.
if IT could use those, because they're nice little computers.
Are they Apple iPads also?
No,
No,
they're
they're-
just
Tablet?
a little tablet that the top turns on them. There's touch screen. They're really nice, but, you know, that's something that if they could.
Why do we go to Apple iPads in lieu of something like you already use? Or why couldn't the pads that you already have be
They're not,
used?
Not compatible.
they're not compatible.
Yeah.
So when we get through with these Apple iPads, they won't be compatible with Windows that we run. So we won't be able to use these.
Well, you're probably gonna go past the life expectancy of them in 5 to 8 years. And by then, you might have Windows application on iPad.
Certainly could.
Yeah.
Is this the recommended application, I guess?
Yes, this is what they recommended. That's why I took it down to Ashley, before I brought it to the court to see if she could get them any cheaper.
Did you Google it?
I didn't go to it.
The price seems really good for an iPad, for 35 iPads.
Yeah.
I want to make that motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Beecham, second by Commissioner Watts to approve the item as stated. Any comments in the audience? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. When are you expecting word back from the Secretary of State's office?
They're supposed to let us know by the 14th. I did last week send Andre, which is one of the staff attorneys there, to see if they could give me a heads up. And I've never heard back from him. So I may send him another email today and see.
Okay. We are fixed on our locations for November.
Yes.
Kay Holland would like that to put in the voter's guide if you could get
I
that.
sent it to her.
Did you? Okay, thank you.
Well, I didn't send it to her. I sent it to someone else.
Could you have our website updated, please?
I was waiting to see.
That
if
information
we
needs to be available to our public, which what's on there now is not right.
No, but the early voting is on there. That's first. And I did show Commissioner Beecham a website, and I sent it to Ashley that is really good. There's an app that Galveston used, which I'm not gonna call it Galveston County right now, to find out about it. They're probably a little busy. But it's an app for your phone that will, you hit that app and it will show you where you go vote. So I did send it to Ashley and them, and she was checking into it. But their website, if you can ask Commissioner Beecham, is very nice. It's just an election website. It has, I wish we had something like it, but I would be interested in finding out about the app. That would help some, the younger voters that use their phones all the time.
Like Bob Hampton.
Yes.
Not there you go.
Mr. Google. Yeah.
No, we wouldn't Google it.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Item 13, discuss and consider take action to approve a quote from Tarpley Media Systems in the amount of $24,992.50 for repairs to the sound system of the juvenile detention dormitories to be paid by transfer from Department 570 salary lines to appropriate line as determined by the county auditor. Mr. Worrell.
Salary lines?
Kirk, are you getting a jukebox or?
No, sir, we have the sound system in detention. Every individual room is sound monitored, and it's on the blink. It's, I think, 15 or 16 years old. And the way it works is the juvenile's in the room, and we can talk to them, and they can also, by voice activation, talk to us. And what the problem is when they do that and it goes into the control room, we can't tell which room it's coming from, and we of course need to know that. And Tarpley is the company that installed the current system, and they've been in and looked at it. They're just going to rebuild it and fix it up for us.
I would like to see what equipment we're getting for the 24,000. What, do we have any idea what they're actually providing, or?
Well, they're rebuilding the current system.
Right. But what does that, what equipment are we actually buying? I mean, is this going to include wiring? Is it new intercoms in each cell? or just a
Not my
controller,
understanding, excuse me.
or just a controller, or what all are we getting for 24,000?
Well, a rebuild of the entire system, and I guess it's.
They're gonna pull all the wires out, put all new wires
I
in?
don't know that they're gonna. I
Well,
don't know.
okay, what we're really asking for is a copy of the estimate that
Yeah.
wasn't given, that tells what the scope of work is and what the warranty or any of that kind of thing. I mean, they're gonna do $24,000 worth of work, do they warrant that for 1 year or two, or, and is there new control equipment in it that's gonna have a separate warranty from the manufacturer or something like that?
I don't know the answer to that. I know that they're the same company we've used. They're the ones who always works on it.
I'm not disputing your need for it, but I'd like to see what I'm purchasing for $24,000 before we make the purchase, so.
Sometimes we have found that something that we pay $3,500 for, we can actually get $800. And so once we discovered that, we've been a little apprehensive without seeing some documentation on voting on stuff like that.
The only thing I might throw back to y'all, I was just looking at this. If you pay for it from within that budget, I'm not sure you're required to come to us with this.
I know that, but out of courtesy, I do.
Okay.
This is something you budgeted for this year, wasn't it,
I'm sorry,
Kurt?
Commissioner.
Didn't you budget for this?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I can't hear you. Let's
Didn't
do
you
one.
budget for this expenditure in 2017? Or?
No, we did not know that this was not something that we had budgeted for. Didn't know that it was going to go on the blink this year, but we do have the money to pay for it in our existing budget. I just wanting to move it from one fund to another fund, and I know that it is an existing budget, and maybe technically we don't, but we do.
Well,
And we appreciate it.
Would you be opposed if Commissioner Beecham just looked at it before
No,
we
sure,
vote?
no, I wouldn't be opposed, but one of the things is, I certainly want to get this going.
It needs to
because I
move.
want it to
Like,
get in this.
not 2 weeks from now, but
Well,
maybe just
I don't disagree with you.
But we were expecting it to have to redo it, that it was going to be $75,000 to $100,000, and not certain that we would even get the type of system that we like, because what is unique about ours is it is the voice activated, and they can call out to the control room, and it's just the disconnect. We don't know oftentimes who's calling, which room it's coming from.
Sure,
so we
sure.
need to know
I
that.
understand that.
That would also be considered like a life safety issue.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not disputing you. I just want to see what I'm buying before I buy it. So,
he may be able to get some guidance, may not.
yeah.
Okay, but I would think in the essence of this, you can, you really, I appreciate the courtesy you're doing here, but the way the juvenile budget works, we don't, technically, they submit to us a request for a certain amount of money, and we've always had a good working relationship to have a fully developed budget from the chief juvenile probation officer, and especially during Mr. Wolf's time, but technically, that's not required. As long as they follow the correct state bid procurement laws and everything else, they're really their own entity.
I'd make a motion then that we go ahead and move forward with this and let Mark review it. And, if he has some questions, you can do that in the next day.
I don't mind that.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Watts, second by Commissioner Muller to approve the item that was reviewed by Commissioner Beecham. Any other comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner, I'll send that.
Thank you. I just want to see what we're getting. So,
Yeah, it's,
I trust your judgment. It's not that.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
Okay, item 14 is discuss here take action to authorize transfer of $2,500 from 10409 capital expenditures to Department 640 budget lines as assigned by the county auditor. Item estimated cost software, $349, Fujitsu scanner, $880, consulting service, $1,018, for a total of $2,247.
Judge, that cost is not exactly correct.
Okay.
The software is a monthly charge in addition to the software charge we're already paying, so that would be $349 monthly. For the rest of the year, that would be an additional $1,047, I guess. So the total cost for the remaining of this year was $2,945. And I do have that budgeted in that account for next year.
So the total amount is going to be $2,945.
Correct.
Okay.
And that allows that office to start moving paperless.
Okay.
And this is new software, Mark?
Yeah, this is an additional software module into the software that we already have.
Yeah, it's part of the Indigent Healthcare Solutions model. But it gives them tremendous improvement in how they can review and track all of their clientele.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Muller, second by Commissioner Watts to approve the item as requested with modification to allow for the additional monthly payments for a total cost of $2,945. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item 15, discuss, consider, take action to approve the county treasurer's reports for July 2017 and authorize the county judge and commissioners to sign affidavits certifying compliance with section 114.026C of the government code for July 2017. Mr. Hampton.
After all this, everybody's got a bid, so they're leaving.
They just didn't know how exciting your presentation was.
I like those pretty color ones.
Oh, yeah. You see that? After that, I'll give you enough stuff.
How much do I need?
Here you are.
Well, I got my big one.
My due date came under.
Thank you, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Brother Bob.
Friends call me Bob.
No, I've heard you both all the other things.
Among other things. Well, quickly, you're looking at that multi-page spreadsheet. We're looking at the end of July, and we're 14% ahead of where we were last 12 months trailing. And of course, we talked about that. There's reasons for that, 14%. And so the real numbers of that spreadsheet that I gave you. And I attached that deal that I looked to at that little weekly market deal. And don't let all that gibberish fool you. Main thing, I just wanted to make sure that you knew that what was going on this past week. We had a Federal Reserve chairman resign. He's going to be out of there on October the 13th. That's Chairman Flesher. Another Fed member stressed additional tax rate hikes probably not going to happen because he was concerned about inflation. And initial job claims jumped to 298,000 last week. So the economy, although you hear a lot of things on TV, is still pretty shaky. So that's where we are. And what does all that say is the tax rates are probably not going to improve as far as our fixed income. But we are getting a pretty substantial improvement from where we were probably 18 months ago. It still sucks, but it's better than it was. So the spreadsheet, like Lee's looking at, compared to August, not to confuse you, but I want to keep you in the ballpark at today's rates. You're looking at the end of August, compared to August of last year. Right now, we are almost 2,600,000 ahead, which is 10% increase. If you'll remember, last month we were 9% ahead of where we were in just general fund assets. We're now 10%, about, just say 2.5 million ahead. So really and truly, we're doing good.
Are you able to look at that and distinguish whether that's a change in revenues? In other words, where is that, or is that just additional? Because the majority of our property tax collection is pretty well done by now. Now it's still...
Our collection obviously is a lot better, and that's what I can tell you without any hesitation.
I didn't know if we...
Fees and fines have improved as far as income-wise. But those are the real numbers. Those are real assets that I have in my pocket.
Okay.
That we could go to the bank right now. This is not some sort of blue sky deal. These are real numbers.
Well, but those are some of the things that we...
Has nothing to do with borrowed money.
No. But what I'm saying is those were some things, you know, we questioned, we looked at the rate last year. There was a penny there we thought might actually bring us close to break even. It appears that's helping. The efforts by Commissioner Watts to review and look at our civil service fees and raise those for service of papers, those things are paying off, and if there's an increase in fine and fee collection, then that's real fortunate, because enforcement with DPS having been down on the border and now down servicing the hurricane, that puts...
Well, I'll tell you, this lady said, warrants and collections, well, she was there, I was going to brag on her. Anyway, she runs out a gazillion pieces of mail every day, as well as CMO. So those are two offices that are sending out lots of bills, and we're getting paid for them.
Yeah.
Very, very helpful.
I make a motion that we accept the treasurer's report.
Well, go ahead.
Bob, there's a reserve for self-insurance.
Yeah.
Is that something the court designated to set that volume of money aside? Is it ever changing? Does sometimes money get in that account?
That's one of those deals that I think the only one alive is Willie that can still address that. That's a 216 account that apparently was paid sometime when we were, at one time, believe it or not, we were self-insured.
But aren't we self-insured to a point for, let's say my bulldozer burns up, or the generator outside, we're not insured for that?
No, there's two things. That fund is set up, we do that instead of paying a bond premium on the county and district clerk. There's a fee that goes into that, and it's based on a relationship of the amount of filings they have determines the bonding amount. And then the second thing, there's been money put in there. We talked about this probably 2 months ago, that we could start taking, instead of taking money out of general fund contingency to pay like an automobile wreck,
yeah, we did
talk about paying it out of there.
Well, but you invest that fund the same as you would any fund, right?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
So it doesn't.
3.8 million.
It won't change
It didn't change the price of eggs in China then,
Yeah.
whether that second.
Has nothing to do with, what I'm telling you about the 2.5 million has nothing to do with self-insurance. 216 is a standalone account as opposed to 100, which is our general fund.
And I'm talking about 101 dash, I can't read the last, it's cut off. It's 216, 101 something.
216 is self-insurance. That's the other side of this.
It's the
30-year-old software.
It's the second line right here.
We got a gazillion numbers, yeah.
So that money that sets in that total checking is,
3.8.
but it invests the same as the number above it, right?
It does.
Okay, so,
Which is easier to explain by looking at this right here. That's the reason, the purpose of this sheet. See, self-insurance.
it shows how it's laid out. Okay, gotcha.
So it's an accounting entry, basically. is what it
Okay,
That's what this is.
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the real deal.
okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. And then, I noticed on that sheet as well, Bob, like Patty's sets, and that was my question on it. In that fund,
239.
Yeah, there's
No.
50 sub-accounts in this general fund.
I thought it was it wasn't the records management. I thought there was
You talking about that one with the 700,000 in it?
yeah.
Yeah, that's a non-interest bearing deal that Patty and I have had long discussions about.
Is it able to be changed?
But she tells me that the state directs that money. She cannot put that in an interest bearing situation.
What money are we talking about?
Yeah.
That's at
The trust.
district clerk. Let's see what we got here. What is it?
I saw it and it stood out.
That's just it, it's non-interest bearing trust, it's money.
It's not our money.
It's not our money.
Just like
Do they draft
CSCD.
from it all the time, the state?
It's not even the state's money.
It's awards made by an act of court,
Yeah.
and it's a minor, we keep it in trust, is that?
Well, minors go into interest bearing trust.
Yeah.
This is like, there's a divorce case, the judge orders you to sell a house, you sell the house for $400,000, it goes into the non-interest bearing trust until they find out.
How it's going to be
Okay.
divided up.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But once again, while you're down in Austin, that's what we need to be lobbying about. There's no reason to have
Non-interest
a
bearing.
multi-$100,000 account not drawing interest.
Well, yeah.
What about
It's our work.
What about
We ought to
$11
get
million
these-
rainy day fund?
It wouldn't be our interest either though, Bob.
Well, it could be.
But we ought to get
Depends on how the
the
laws are.
interest, yeah. We do the work and then we can do it, yeah. But Patty does wonderful work. Just so when you get that big sheet like this thing right here, CSCD, that doesn't apply to us. We've got two large accounts that I deal with juvenile,
Not our money, though.
not our money. So that's the reason that spreadsheet, I think, should help you, and I hope that little additional information about the economy helps you. But, who knows what's going to happen there. I was watching this Florida deal on TV yesterday. Everything's going to go up. It looks like Florida's swamped head to toe.
Not near as bad as they initially thought.
And am I to understand on travel charges, I have to come in and ask you pay my travel bills to get my continued eds?
If you didn't submit it when we asked a couple of months ago to send us, a listing of what you plan to do,
Yeah.
then you.
But it's always been on my budget.
And it'll still be set aside, but we ask everybody to review those, Bob, so that, we'd look at and be sure we're getting the required training, because a couple of departments were sending probably more people than they needed to, simply looking at it from cost. But if you didn't submit that,
I didn't.
okay, then we took what you had for last year, it's in 409, so prior to going to something, you need to submit that in, or you could submit something now to say, here's the 3 conferences I normally go to, here's been the projected costs, and we can do a transfer after the fact to get it back into your account and do it in one. But I asked those, we sent out a reminder.
Several reminders.
Well, Willie even reminded me once, but I didn't think it had to do with excess other than budget.
Well,
We budget and then we submit additional paperwork for travel.
It's how we ask you to submit that in your budget this year.
Yeah.
And since you didn't submit it, we just,
Well, no, I did submit mine in my budget.
yeah, but you didn't submit it in
You
the
submitted a
manner in
number,
which we
didn't you?
requested.
Okay. Well, huh. Any other questions?
no, sir, thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
We need a motion to take care of this.
You had one a while ago, didn't
We
you?
started one.
Oh, okay. Motion to approve and allow the court to sign needed documents.
Second.
Don't hurt yourself, beat him down there.
Second.
That was one of those
Okay.
provisional seconds. Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Mahler and a maybe by Commissioner Beecham.
A maybe.
We have a second.
So it's 3-2?
And a signed document.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Down to public comments or staff reports. Anyone in the audience, anything?
I just
Yes,
have
sir.
one comment, and that is the fact that, just like Mark said on the way in this morning, those flags were set by the Rotary Club as a reminder to all of us of 15 years, or 16 years ago now, of 9/11 and what that stands for us. So, you know, I'm here to, and I hope we're being recorded because I want to take exception to the mayor of Dallas and also the mayor of New Orleans. You know, to take down Confederate statuary, that's not a reminder of men that, according to the Dallas mayor, General Lee was a traitor to his country. 32 years wearing a Union or a Yankee uniform, and the department head of Texas in 1860 would tell me that Colonel Lee then was not a traitor to his country, and then Abraham Lincoln offered him the overall command of the Northern forces, would certainly indicate to me also that he was highly thought of, superintendent of West Point, hero of the Mexican War. Even Winston Churchill wrote in his book that Robert E. Lee was the best general that America ever had. Tells me that both those gentlemen running large populated areas are very, very either not educated as far as that time frame, or certainly not very well read, which indicates to me, I'm not going to call names like they used to up there in the north, but you know, you'd think that somebody would keep their mouth shut if they don't know what they're talking about. The other side of this is that that statuary reminds us of a period of time that was really our change agent in this country. And we went from one dynamic, which was a very accepted paradigm in the 19th century, to the dynamic we have today. And most people, and you don't have to, I'm not talking about a particular color of skin, anybody that reads about that should be reminded of how great this country is by looking at those statues. And that's where we need to be focused on, just like these flags today. Needs to be reminded of those people, of that persuasion that drove those planes and killed more people than Pearl Harbor in New York. And we need to address that and be mindful of that. And also, you know, just like you said, Mark, those guys, I was watching that last night, those guys running up those steps, firemen, and talk about courage. Those men should be remembered always.
Take your sentiment one step further. 16 years ago today, and Hurricane Harvey, and over this weekend in Florida, color didn't matter, religion didn't matter, nothing mattered. We were all Americans, all under that banner.
Amen.
And all that was out the window. It was saving Americans.
Yeah, color of skin, you know,
It
that.
does not matter.
That's
It
what
should
makes a
not matter.
success, is get beyond that cheap talk.
It should not matter day to day. We should all treat every day like it was 9/11 and we're all Americans.
And don't let somebody else do your thinking for you. That's, amen.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, anyone else? Okay, Commissioner Beecham.
I want to remind everybody that TO Fairs this week. Saturday, a debut of a new band out at TO Fair. A band called After Fives.
Are you in that band?
I happen to be the bass player of that band with.
Sure it's after 5 or
It's
after
after
50?
five. It's after, well, it's after 50 too.
Or after 55.
With our good friend Bill Weskey.
Yep.
So we've had one practice and that's all we're going to have. So we'll see what happens.
No need wearing it out.
No need, yeah. If we don't know by now, we ain't gonna know.
Barry could come introduce y'all. These are the boys.
Sheriff. Okay, Commissioner Harley.
Had a good weekend. First Baptist Church in Burke Burnett had Church Without Walls, 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. Well attended, good outreach, enjoyed that a lot. Coming up, we have, let's see, on September the 23rd at Electra. Tell us about that, Jeff. It's a steak competition cook-off? something?
Yes, and open to anyone that want to compete, and in honor of the homecoming in Electra, Texas.
Yeah, yeah. Fortunately, I've been selected as a state judge, so quite pleased about that.
I think we have a good field of judges there for that, and I think it's just bring your cooker and compete. And
That's
maybe,
also, on September 23rd is also the Air Force Ball at the Impact Center. I think that's pretty well attended too.
Yes, sir.
I can't remember something this week. With the Wichita County Charity Dove Hunt last Friday and Saturday, hosted by the Burke Burnett Senior Citizens Center. It was well attended. Oh, that's it. I got a doctor's appointment on Wednesday. No. Seems like there was something else.
Yeah.
We
We'll put the flags back up. Yeah.
On my calendar. The week after next, we'll all be gone to Corpus Christi.
Yeah. Now, remember on that Monday, y'all were staying here having a
We're having
meeting at
court
8
that
a.m.
morning
to
at 8 o'clock.
Yeah. To approve the payroll. Auditor's always going to work over the weekend to get that done.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
It's about a 10-hour drive,
Yeah.
so no step for a stepper like us.
You use Barney's fire truck to get there.
Heck no, it only runs about 55 mile an hour.
Yeah. Okay, Commissioner Mahler.
Just sitting here doing, crunching some numbers, guys. We've spent about the last probably 4 months working on this budget. Probably worked on it harder than anyone we've done since I've been here, anyway. Think about this for just a minute. At the tax rate that we approved and looking at the 80-cent limit, if we stretch this out to the 30-year life of that bond, what we have available to work with on a per-year basis as far as tax rate is concerned is less than a ½ cent per year. The belt tightening and the work on the budget is far from over. We're just getting started. ½ cent, less than a ½ cent a year is all that's on the table. Think about that.
Commissioner Watts and I picked up a paper coming home from our last visit down in Austin, and it was for the Grand Leader, and they posted their new tax rate of 0.79999543321, whatever.
Whatever.
They are maxed out in Young County.
That means we've got to, if we do it, like, once again, over the 30-year period of that note that we're obligated to, less than a half cent a year. It's going to be pretty tight.
We have some INS falling off over the years.
Well, we hope.
Have some of that. We've been fortunate with some tax base increase.
That's what we're hoping for. That's the point.
Nice news is the city and the chamber are after 180 job business that sure looks possible for coming here. We'll have some, not great, but reasonable investment in
infrastructure,
equipment and infrastructure into an existing facility.
Which we'll probably give a 10-year abatement to.
Well, you can't abate what's already on the tax roll. So it'd only be the new stuff they're bringing in.
Yeah.
But it's more than you had to start with, even if you only gain, so much a year.
Sure.
Okay, Commissioner Watts?
October the 14th, we've got the Junior Angler event coming up in Iowa Park at Gordon Lake. It's well attended. If the kids want to come out and fish, that's all equipment provided. Claire, your kiddos would love it. So it's a good, fun family time and a good, cool time of year. The Optimist Club and several other civic clubs support hot dogs and free drinks for all the participants, and they'll catch fish. The city, along with 4B, pays to stock it healthily, and so it's just a great activity for that area and centrally located for everybody to get to easy. So bring the kiddos and come out and participate.
We do that in Mark Burnett too, but we just stock our fountain. They're a lot easier to catch out there.
We'll have several hundred come and fish, and it's just always fun. They're from all over the area, so that's a good thing. And the city enjoys showing off the lake and let people walk around it and look around it. So,
isn't it a blessing from God that lake has water in it today?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
That's right.
Although we could use the rain. Pretty bad. It's getting pretty dry.
He's worried about his cotton.
That's right. All right.
And a bunch of burned up grass.
We do have a meeting scheduled for Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. It is to discuss, consider, and to review and direct payment of payroll and claims, and discuss securing, selling, or leasing options for Lindeman Parking Garage, which have somebody officially canceled with the man that wanted everybody to come tomorrow and have lunch and talk about the...
Well, no, I just not gave him... Mark, you...
I responded to him individually that I would not be there, since I already know what he's asking. So.
Did Lee or Barry, do y'all want to go meet with him and look at that?
We will.
We can.
We've already done that once.
He just wanted to...
Well...
I guess reiterate.
I wasn't on the list, so that's fine. But somebody needs to say to him, we can't do that. Did you send it? Willie, did you?
Well, me and Mark have kind of been shown, and we thought maybe you and Barry might want to go and do that. Or he's sent us a drawing with a kind of something he'd like to propose, and
I've not seen it, but I've got a general idea of what he's talking about.
Well,
but he's got several other developments that he would like to pass along.
Did anybody tell him there's a process? He can't just make a deal with us. That's not what we do.
Yeah.
It's got to go out for bid and all that kind of thing.
And we don't own it yet. We're still paying on it.
Well, that wouldn't preclude us from selling it, though, I believe. We have to look at our sales agreement. That's the other thing, but that's the point.
Yeah.
But it's getting close, though, isn't it, Willie? It's getting close.
Lindeman Garage.
3 more years.
Yeah. Okay, then the other thing on Friday, we do have the regular session to discuss bills. We have a presentation from Ramisha Brandon on employee benefit consultant from TAC to talk about Wichita County Choice Silver Plan, emergency regular bills. Just in case we had left it on there, any budget discussions, but I think those are all going to be over. The only thing that I don't have the details on that could come back up is if we get a grant under some of the new collection laws from the Office of Court Administration, the executive director there did contact me about would we be open to something, and he didn't know what all that entailed yet, but that might be a really interesting thing to. I asked David to come here, review with us the grant, the new program, and see how that might work in to replace what we've had and incorporate it into the county and district clerks. Ms. Flores came this morning and presented some ideas to the district and county court of law judges that she had gone over with Ms. Shelton, and they accepted those. I think we're looking for an improvement in billing and methodology there, where we might have a better chance of collecting some of the court costs and fines assessed that way. So, Patty, appreciate you doing that. I know it's taking some extra work, but okay.
What was the grant that the young lady that sat at the front desk that moved off school? She gave us a presentation on the grant, and I'm sitting there racking my brain. Yvonne, what grant was that? And do y'all remember?
Well, I don't remember what it was for.
I remember her doing that, but I didn't think there was anything conclusive in it. I sent you all some stuff that came out on mitigation from some of the money. We're going to see that come again when this all settles down with these two disasters. They will make 15% of the cost of that disaster. So 15.4 billion goes to Texas alone. 15% of that money is going to be better than $2 billion to be used by other governmental entities to solve hazard mitigation type things. So, and I did visit with a lady and asked her to work on it again on Gilbert Creek. I'm trying to clear that. Winona Henry. So, because they keep coming out with these things, and when you give them a real project, they run backwards. So, all right, I want to thank you all for the work on the budget. It was a very educating thing. I would say in my 28 years, this has been the most involved we've ever had to get into and significant decisions. We had 2 other years where we had horrendous losses in fund balance. We reacted to that and overcame some things, but we didn't face so many challenges to try to resolve. And we made some good efforts to that this year. And what I really appreciate, we didn't agree on everything today, but this court has the ability to disagree but get along.
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
you know, a lot of our neighbors, that's not the case. And generally speaking, our whole courthouse family is real good about sticking together. Now, you put us in a room all by ourselves, and we might be a little cantankerous, but generally speaking, everybody remembers the ultimate thing, which is to keep bringing Wichita County forward, and I do appreciate, you know, everyone's efforts in that. All right, it is 12:09, and we are adjourned.